He knows he's wrong, and so his way out it is through it. Well, then I'll just keep getting more and more and more and more crazy and ridiculous.
I want to talk briefly about Destiny and that's where I come from, right? I watched him a lot. Yeah. So there's he has tells. He's like a poker player. He's got tells when he's losing the plot, when he's kind of desperate. I'm sure I'm not the first to notice this. You probably noticed him too, but I noticed in your debate with him over the Russian collusion, I almost said hoax, over the Russian collusion scandal.
Yes.
I only listened to like an hour, but 45 minutes of that was Destiny pretending not to understand that a line from a presidential daily brief was in reference to Kuchifer 2, even though he admitted that it was earlier in the debate, right? And that's one of his, he's just burning time. He does it on Piers Morgan too. If he knows he's wrong, he focuses in on some minutia and just burns time so that you can't nail him down. I'm going to burn through these real quick.
I'll say this real quick. That's particularly effective when you have a moderator that's allowing you to do it. So one of the things one time I called into Destiny, right? So I know you're trying to burn through them quick, but this is important to say, right? First off, he's criticized Hassan for that very thing, so he's well aware of this tactic, right? The other thing worth saying is, I remember Destiny's had me call in a couple times to his show, not in an adversarial position. For example, one time he had me call in to ask about my former line of work. Just like, what's it like to work with people? So it wasn't like us debating. He was just like, what's it like working with these adults with these disabilities? What are things you'd recommend, etc. Right? Another time he had me call in, and it was just, can you outline this sort of Hunter Biden Burisma scandal? And it wasn't a debate. It was him keeping notes because he was then going to debate Alex Jones. So he called me. He wanted me to outline the story. Now, people say, why would you do that? That directly got me on Tim Pool's show, because Tim Pool noticed me from that. So I'm more than happy to benefit myself. And I got to tell his audience how shitty that story was. He said to me at the end of that, he's like, if I give you some advice, one thing that you need to do better with me is you let me interrupt too much. Right? He's like, you got to be more assertive. And then it's ironic because then, as we've debated 3-4 times since then, it's constant him fucking interrupting. And 95% of the time it's a mod, like, tomfoolery there that's just going to let it happen. Right? And so, yes, he's burning time. That's exactly what it is. And when you look at that, if you go back and watch that debate I had with him, the part that we were focusing on, which was sort of the Tulsi Gabbard, the new releases, that's like only 5% important to what I had to say. The vast majority of the stuff I was saying, we could have said without one of the Tulsi Gabbard releases. But he decided to hyper-focus in there, and what did we really get to? Because he kept interrupting and spinning his wheels, we got to nothing. And so by the time the 2-hour debate ends, it's like, well, what the fuck did you guys really talk about? Well, because he kept interrupting and spinning the wheels, and then I would try to respond to that, and he would do it again. And he knows that he doesn't have an argument, and so that was his tactic. Yeah.
Yep, Vosh does that a lot too. Did you ever see his debate? And for the audience, Vosh once argued that they don't have water in Mexico because they call it agua.
Agua. Yes.
Agua.
That was his way of saying that, like, words are fluid, that definitions are fluid, right? So we can't say what a woman is because, for example, we have different words for water, such as they don't have water in Mexico. It's agua. And it was
which the guy he was debating at the time correctly pointed out, you're mistaking ontology, which is the philosophy of being, what makes something something, with the label of something. Because
correct.
Water versus agua is a label, but what makes water isn't the name water, right? And Vosh knew that, but he also knew he was wrong, and so that was all he could do. And like Destiny's doing that a lot. I saw him doing that a lot leading up to the election as well, because especially after Trump got tagged in the ear, because he's desperate. Like he knows he's losing, but he has to keep up appearances. Another thing, the pedantry, which that might fall under that, but I watched some of the Piers Morgan thing he did recently with Posobiec about Charlie Kirk. If you remember, Posobiec is giving this very heartfelt speech, and he references the shell casings, but he matches the wrong shell casing to the bullet that hit Kirk. And then Destiny says, that's not even the right bullet. That's not even the right shell casing. Why are you lying about this? Why are you lying about this? And it's like, it's just misdirection. It's pedantry to get nailed in on that one thing so that he can misdirect from the broader...
absolutely right. Yep.
Broader thing. And then another thing I noticed from that was he had, I guess, prepared a script. Piers Morgan mentions he got that the shooter got radicalized, and Destiny goes, "Oh, where did he get radicalized? Where did he get radicalized from?" Because a lot of people on Twitter had been saying he got radicalized by college, when in fact he had done like a semester remote. And Destiny was hoping that as a gotcha. And Piers Morgan's like, well, I don't know who radicalized him. And then Destiny goes, oh, you mean his semester he spent at UVA and college? That was remote, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like this prepared talk. And it's because he's panicking. It's because he knows he's losing. He knows that the Kirk killing was obviously not warranted and also wildly unpopular. I think you can feel kind of the vibe shift, the tide's turning. And I wanted to bring that up because it makes me feel really hopeful for the midterms a little bit, but also 2028. I think
I don't disagree. And it was very similar to the assassination attempt of Trump. My reading on Destiny was this. He understood the importance of that moment politically, because what that did was it changed the narrative going into that election cycle where Trump looked like a fucking badass. He gets shot, he comes up yelling fight, and there's a lot of people that on his side that it raised the enthusiasm, and there's a lot of people that maybe hadn't made up their mind that was like, damn, like that's crazy. The other side is radical. He showed like defiant strength in that moment. That's sort of maybe something we'd be interested in as a leader, and Destiny knows that's a really bad moment. And so I felt that he had several things going on in his personal life, which I don't need to talk about, but like with his marriage and things like that, and then maybe some stuff going on behind the scenes, which came out after the election. But that moment as well, he sort of spirals. And Destiny's also playing a character more than, like, everybody does this. Like, I'm a little bit playing a character, and by that, it's not good terminology. What I mean by that is I'm taking some things I do and I'm trying to make it a little more entertaining. So maybe I'd be slightly less intense, like if I'm just talking to you, though maybe not. Like, one of the criticisms my roommates used to, they're like, shut the fuck up, you're too loud, you're too animated when you're talking. But Destiny's character's like, he has to be this, like, debate, never back down, never apologize, blah, blah, blah. And so he can't just be like, you know what, I had a bad day, maybe I shouldn't have said Corey Competore deserved to die. Maybe I shouldn't have made fun of him. My bad, but, fuck these Republicans, they do shit like that as well. He can't say that. He has to double down, right? And so he knows he's wrong, and so his way out it is through it. Well, then I'll just keep getting more and more and more and more crazy and ridiculous, right? And I'll just keep going until eventually there's a reaction to me that I could go, see how vile they are? Look at what they're saying about me. And that's sort of what you see with this campus tour right now. Like, I don't think that he wants someone to, like, use a super insane amount of violence, but he wants people to just shout at him, and he wants people to, like, charge and, like, have security have to hold him back or whatever, so he could say, see? You see who the real violent people are? And so his strategy is just, he's always going to double down. He's not going to he knows he's wrong. You're absolutely right. The reaction that I saw with Destiny following the Kirk assassination was the same that I saw with the failed Trump assassination, which was he knows it's bad for his side, and so he's just spiraling out of control like a petulant fucking child, and he's not smart enough to realize, like, look, pull in the reins a little. And, I've said this. This is true. I contacted people in private. I'm not going to discuss who, but I contacted people in private after the Trump assassination and was like, listen, if you people are friends with Destiny, you ought to sit down and have a talk with him. Because he's going to fuck his entire career up and his entire life up. And more importantly, he's going to inspire one of his fans to do something fucked up. So can we all just pull the reins back a little and have someone be like, hey, man, change the fucking subject, take a week off, whatever you need to do. And I see the same thing with the Charlie Kirk stuff. He's just doubling down over and over again.
Yeah, well, not that Destiny will ever see this, but I voted for Gary Johnson and Joe Jorgensen. I only voted for Trump because they tried to kill him.
Right.
That is the reason.
There you go.
Like, they tried to actually stop democracy. Oh, wait. I have one more thing. Okay. I don't give a fuck about January 6th other than it was a riot. Okay. But you want to talk about Donald Trump tried to use parliamentary tricks to change the outcome of the election or whatever. Okay. So did the Democrats in 2016. They ran commercials on fucking YouTube of celebrities telling the electors to switch their votes from Trump to Hillary. The exact same shit. The only difference is they're not going to be able to tie it directly to Hillary because Hillary has I don't know how to say it.
The difference is, and this is a legitimate criticism of Trump, by the way. The legitimate criticism of him and his, like, associates are, they'll just be like, they'll tell you what they're thinking. You're right. Hillary's team's smart enough to have a degree of separation. So, like, one of the things you hear constantly is like, oh, Don Jr. tried to meet with this Russian lawyer at Trump Tower. Hillary's team's not doing that. Hillary's team's sending someone that they paid a law firm to tell to go. So then they could go, we didn't tell that person to go meet with that Russian. We didn't. Yeah, but you paid this law firm that didn't. Well, we didn't know what the law firm was doing. We just in general paid the law firm, right? There's always this degree of separation. right? So Alvin, you know, the guy from Biden's team, for example, that left, the number 3 guy in the FBI, lawyer that left to go take a demotion to work for Alvin Bragg to prosecute Trump, right? And they're always going to be like, hey, that was just happen chance. That wasn't that we coordinated this effort, just happen chance. Or even Obama, Lois Lerner targeting the IRS. Hey, you know, we didn't direct. So yes, what happened was they have people do these things through intermediaries and then they shrug their shoulders and like, but we didn't do it. Even worse than that, though, is you saw John Podesta leading the Transition Integrity Project that suggested that if Democrats won, they were wargaming scenarios. They said that they were going to have states refuse to send the correct electors, send alternate electors, threaten to secede from the union, right, until we disbanded the Electoral College.
Is that
right?
true? What's that called?
The Transition Integrity Project, the TIPP, I think it's called. But yeah, look it up. It was a bunch of prominent Democrats and people that were on the board, and they wargamed all these scenarios. And then in addition to that, you remember you had the infamous Time magazine article that talked about fortifying the election for Joe Biden. And in it talked about if Biden had lost, they already had a ground game going with activists on the street, on the ground that were ready to protest. Oh, you mean like in 2016 when they rioted? Right? So the idea that it's like, it's bullshit. I'm not a big fan of the alternate elector things. I'll be honest with you, I'm not. Put up or shut up. If you don't have the fucking goods that the election was stolen, then sorry, dude. You could gut feeling think it was stolen, and that's that. There's nothing you could do if you can't do it through the legal course, right? So I didn't like the alternate electors, but the idea that this is somehow like this unique scheme that we haven't seen, they fucking spied on Trump's team and then his presidency with the FBI, and every Democrat was perfectly fine for it. Once you do that, you can't be surprised when the other side's like, well, we got some dirty tricks that we're going to employ too. And as far as I'm concerned, the alternate elector things pales in comparison to weaponizing the FBI to go after one side and protect the other. So, you know, I understand people, particularly if you're a centrist, you're like, well, yeah, but fuck Trump. That I get. But I'm not going to listen to people that cheered on these very same tactics or worse when it came to the Democrats now clutch their pearls and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened, you know?
Agreed. Thank you for taking my call, Mr. Noor.
Unfortunately, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.